everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our roundtable. We are going to be getting started here in a few minutes. For those of you who are watching on YouTube or Facebook, please switch over to streamlineartevents.com/roundtable. We are going to be giving away some prizes today, and that is the chat that we will be pulling our names from. So again, that is streamlineartevents.com/roundtable. Jump over there if you want to be available to win a prize today. And if you are having any sort of technical issues, please refresh your browsers. That's usually going to fix things 99% of the time. So we are going to be getting started here in a few more minutes, but we want to give everyone a chance to log on. So I will see you guys in about 3 more minutes. Joining us today. My name is Carrie Stover, and I'm going to be your host for today. In case you are new to Streamline, we are the publisher of several art magazines. We've got numerous newsletters, art events, conventions, retreats, and we've also produced over 600 art instruction videos, art instruction courses rather, on video. And you can learn more about everything that our company does at streamlinepublishing.com/everything. We have so many wonderful things that we do for artists because we all love art and artists and helping you guys grow. So be sure to check that out. It's a lot of resources for you. Before we get started today with our show, I just have a little housekeeping note that if you are experiencing any technical issues during the broadcast, please be sure to refresh your browsers because that will usually fix any issues 99% of the time. And if you still have issues and can't watch, there will be a replay, so don't stress. I like to give things away, so if you haven't already typed into the chat where you are watching from, please do so right now because we are going to select some winners for our chat today, for some giveaways that we have. And if I call your name, please type "I'm here" in the chat. And then also please send me an email at, I need to put it up here on the screen, winners@streamlinepublishing.com. That way we can be sure to get you your fun new video. Are you ready? Our first winner is going to be Jocelyn Shedler. Jocelyn Shedler, you are going to be the proud new owner of one of our best-selling figure videos, Secrets of Classical Painting by Juliet Aristides. Congratulations. And I just got to write your name down here too. Make sure we actually get everything documented for you. And our next video is Michael Mentler. He is going to be on faculty for Realism Live. This is another best-selling video. And this is figure drawing in the Renaissance tradition. And this winner is going to be Gloria Price from Plano, Texas. Congratulations, Gloria. You are the proud owner of Michael Mentler's video. And the next one I have to give away, this is one I've actually watched. I don't watch all of our videos because there's far too many, but this one I actually did watch. This is one of our newer videos from earlier this year with Larry Moore. And this video applies to any medium. It does not matter what you paint in. This medium or this video applies to you. And the first 15 minutes alone were fantastic. So I recommend this to everyone. So the winner of this video is going to be, let's see here. You guys are all typing in the chat really fast. It is going to be Linda Lang Ishii. Linda Lang Ishii, you are the winner of Larry Moore's video. Congratulations. You're going to love that video, I promise. It's really great. And so congratulations to all of you guys. Make sure that you put your name in the chat and send me an email at winner@streamlinepublishing.com so that I can make sure to get you that video. And today's, sorry, so many things today going on. And I don't have my handy Amandine here to help me. She's always here to help me. And so today we are going to be giving away a lot of things. So make sure that you're present in the chat. And like I said, if you're watching on YouTube or over on Facebook, switch over to streamlineartevents.com/roundtable so that you can be in the chat for when we're giving those away. Today's webinar is going to be sponsored by Realism Live. This is our upcoming conference in November, and it's the world's largest online art training event in realism. We have 24 incredible artists from around the world that will be teaching, and including our guests from today's panel, and attendees from over 40 countries. There's an optional essentials day designed to cover the fundamentals, or if you just want a refresher before we jump right into the main event, it's also a great opportunity for you. So check that out at realismlive.com. And I actually have some more that I'll talk about a little bit later. But before I do that, I thought I would give away a ticket to Realism Live since Eric isn't here. I like to give things away. So comment in the chats, and I'm going to select a winner to receive a general ticket to Realism Live coming up in November. And like I said, if you can't make it, we've got replays. And if you are already signed up for Realism when I select your name, guess what? Now you get to bring a friend. So the winner of a general ticket to Realism Live is going to be, oh my goodness, you are typing so fast. It is going to be Bobby Flintrop. Bobby Flintrop, you are coming to Realism Live. So congratulations. And like I said, if you already have a ticket, now you get to bring a friend. We'll be giving some more prizes away, so make sure you're still present in the chat to win. Today, we have two wonderful artists with us today. We have Cami Menlick and Carol Peebles. We are going to be discussing the topic, how to find your authentic voice and grow your art career. We are going to have a short Q&A after the session. So if you guys have any questions during our conversation, please drop those into the chat, and we're going to save all of those for our Q&A after we get done with that today. So let's get to it, shall we? I am Carrie Stober. At this point in the show, I would normally introduce Eric, but he is traveling, so I get to be your host today, and I am super excited about it. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Carrie Stober. I have been with Streamline Publishing for over 12 years now. I am the marketing project manager. I manage the Plein Air Salon art competition, and I am also the community ambassador for Pastel Today, which is our newsletter dedicated to all things pastel, which I am very passionate about. Like I said, I have worked for Streamline for 12 years, and I am very fortunate that I get to work for a company that exposed me to art. And I guess I should say re-exposed me, because I've always loved art ever since I was a kid. I've always, been coloring or drawing or something. And I even won an art competition when I was in the 8th grade. But nothing really came from any of that. It was just something that I enjoyed doing. And then after I started working for Streamline and seeing all of these beautiful paintings in the magazines, it really reinvigorated my love for art. And since I love bright colors so much, which you can tell by my wall behind me, I naturally gravitated to pastel, which is pure pigment, super bright. And I also love getting my hands dirty. So that just seemed natural for me. And that is how I came into my role as the community ambassador for Pastel Today. So that is enough about me. I am not the most important one here. But I do also want to share a little bit about our company and what our mission at Streamline is. Like I said, we love art, we love artists. And Eric's mission when he started this company is to help artists grow and make art more accessible to everyone worldwide, which is why we have, all of the videos that we do, the events that we do. We aim to share these experiences and also learn from artists who have achieved professional success. So today we have two world-class artists who are joining us to talk about their own paths to becoming professional artists. And during this discussion, we're going to explore how they were able to find their authentic voice, tips to help you grow your art career, and all of that fun stuff. So without further ado, I want to bring in our guests for today. We are going to bring in Cami Menlick here first.
Hi.
Do you want to? Hi, I'm so happy you're here today.
I'm so happy to be here.
Do you want to share a little bit about yourself, how you got started?
Sure. Where to begin? I'm
right?
Cami Menlick. I am currently in my studio in Stillwater, Minnesota. It's an old hip roof barn that I purchased 11 years ago and renovated and made the studio. So it's a nice big space, and I'm currently getting ready for a show that I'm having this weekend here. Once a year I have a show here in my studio, so I have to clean my studio. And so I'm from Minnesota, born and raised here, and I've spent my life as a painter, and I've made my living. I've never had another job except a waitress job when I was in my teens and early 20s. In 2008, I founded the St. Croix River School of Painting. It's more about an emphasis on studying landscape and color and light. And I published a book a couple of years ago, Color Relativity. It's on the second printing, but mostly I just really love teaching and painting, and I've made it a career.
That is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And next we have Carol Peebles. Welcome, Carol.
Thank you, Carrie. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm so happy you could join us. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I'm in New Orleans. I've been an artist as long as I can remember. In 2008, I founded the Blue Easel Club, which is a drawing atelier, and I spend most of my time either teaching, drawing from life in the classical realist tradition, or working on my own work or commission. So that's kind of my full-time occupation. And I've been raising two girls, and they're a really big part of my life. So that's kind of integrated a lot. And how I teach and how I try to mix family with my career. But I love drawing from life and teaching drawing from life. And I'm really excited to be here. And by the way, if you're wondering what that little white dot going around my face is, I have a bird feeder outside my window, and it's got little reflective lights. So we will be entertained by that. Love you talk.
Oh, there you go. It'll be fun. Well, welcome, ladies. I'm so excited for our conversation today. For those of you watching, we have a lot of questions that, or not really questions, but topics that have kind of come up over the years. And we did this same kind of topic last year, and it was really well received. And so I wanted to do it again with some new artists to see what other perspectives we could get. So like I said, if you have any questions, please drop those in the chat so that we can answer those during our Q&A portion of this. So our first topic that I want to talk about is the authentic voice and style. So for you two, what does authentic voice mean to you personally, and how would you define it for aspiring artists? Feel free to jump in and start chatting.
I can go.
Go for it.
I think that's a journey. I mean, I think it depends on where we are in our phase, our stages of growing. And I don't even mean in digits of how long we've been here and years of how old we are, but our journey as a painter or as a human. And I think authenticity for me definitely comes from curiosity. And whenever my ego gets in the way, the authenticity gets squished, or whenever I'm trying to be something that I'm not, is when authenticity goes away. And it's so interesting because authenticity is actually simple. It's just not easy. We all are authentic, and this is what I teach my students, and I try to live by. But of course, I'm human, and we all have egos and insecurities that get in the way. But that, to me, style develops out of curiosity, which to me I've found by really authentically being curious of how to do something or how to express something on canvas. And I know that it's true that there's room for all of us, and that as long as it's true, it will be authentic. It's when we're trying to be something else or trying to be like someone else in our work or do it like someone else that the authenticity gets pushed down. And it's kind of deep, but that I think is what it is.
Yeah. Very interesting. That gave me a thought. But before I say anything, Carol, do you want to add to that?
Yes, I do. I really agree with what Cami said. I think everything she says resonates with me. I think when I feel like I started to really feel secure in my work and found my particular creative voice was when I just stopped caring so much.
Yeah.
First started, I just really wanted to draw well, and I really wanted people to like it, and I really, kept working and wanting to all the time and get better and better. And then there hit a point where I was like, I didn't care so much about that. I just enjoyed working, and I had developed so many portraits that there were just stacks everywhere, just stacks of people everywhere. So I was just thinking, well, let me play with it. And I just started to add things in the background and just have fun with it and not worry so much about, did I get a likeness? Is it a good portrait? And when I started having fun, then things kind of changed for me. I started to show more, I got more reception, and it wasn't an effort to become unique or to become unique or authentic. It was just a letting go and not caring about, not trying so hard. I think that's the main thing, is that a lot of times when people want an authentic voice, they're really trying to be unique and find something that will make them stand out. So you want to do the opposite of that and just have fun, just be yourself, and notice if you're enjoying yourself. And if you're truly enjoying yourself, then I think you're being authentic.
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, it's definitely, art makes people happy, and happy people, like, you got to do what you got to do to be happy. And if art's not making you happy, you're doing it wrong.
I so agree with what you said. I love that you said play. And that's such and letting go. And I don't know, for me, it's going through enough life that I finally realized that this is not so precious. It's painting.
Yeah.
It's like, this is painting, and I have treated it like life or death. And it's because it means so much to us, and when in the early phases, and it means a lot too. But when we realize we're never going to get there, like there's not a there, the there doesn't look like it. It's just like this endless thing.
It's the journey, not the destination, right?
Totally. It's like so simple. It's so simple, but so not easy.
Exactly.
And then it can be easy but it's like you have to do all the work and put all the pieces in place so that you can get to that place,
Exactly.
Mhm.
So Cami, you said something before that that kind of sparked something in me. You said when you stop painting like other people and just paint as yourself, how do you think that, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. So, we're always learning, we find an artist we like, we try to, emulate their style because we like that style.
Yeah.
Or how do you transition from copying artists because you like their style and make it your own style?
It's always like this yin and yang, this juxtaposition of do this, but you don't do this. But it's like there's this dance, right, between passion and intellect all the time in painting. So yeah, we need, like, I'm obsessed with Monet more than ever. And the more that I know, the more that I know I don't know. And I'm like, he was so good. And I'm getting like just so humbled every time I just see his work. So that's just an example because I was just in New York. And I think, wait, what was the question? I went off on a tangent.
No, that's okay. It was
I'm going somewhere.
how do you go from studying under an artist or trying to emulate their style because you
Yes.
like their style to making it your own voice?
So we have to be, I know that just from seeing Carol's work and knowing of her, and I'm super excited to finally meet her, but like, I'm certain she believes the same thing in like fundamentals and academia and study and, like doing that work. Like to me, there's no way around that in representational painting. And so we have to do that. And I think studying with someone or studying from someone, being inspired by the masters, respectfully dead or alive, but whatever. And even, copying masters just to study with them that are no longer here, like standing in a museum. But it's kind of contradictory in a way for newer people to be like, you said to do your own thing, but then to study these people. So I think we have to have the fundamentals. Like, we have to know where the keys are in the piano so that we can express ourselves. So we have to learn how to use the tools. And I think we learn that from other humans, that have done it really well or are doing it or have something really solid and fundamental to teach. So we practice and practice, but then we don't just stay there. We're not trying to paint like someone. Like I tell my students, because oftentimes people will say, I want to be looser like you, or I want to have painterly paintings like you, or I want to learn how to do your brush work. And I don't even spend the time explaining that that's not what I'm teaching anymore. They learn by going through the process, and they will naturally, organically, by doing the fundamental exercises or whatever it is of study, it will start. The more we paint, the more we paint, the more we paint, the less precious it is. The less precious it becomes, the more we want to play or have, find the joy or be curious about how we are going to say this thing, like express ourselves, because painting is a language. It's a form of communication. And I think it's just, there's no direct answer as ever, right?
Right.
So I think it's not about being like someone else. It's about looking to others who have done it. And if you look through the history of the people who have done it well and are doing it well, they're fundamentally grounded. And I just believe that there's room for all of us to be ourselves, and we don't need to worry about our brushwork. We just need to put the time in.
No, that's really great. That's really insightful. Carol, do you want to add to that?
Sure, yeah. I, first of all, completely agree with everything Cami, once again. I think she made some excellent points. I loved the analogy of you need to know where the keys are in order to eventually play your own song. My atelier is founded in the classical realist tradition, so I teach very basic things like how do you measure, how do you understand value, how do you understand proportion. And a lot of times I'll get students who will sign up with me and they're like, oh, I've seen your work. I really want to do pastel portraits like this. And they're ready to jump in the deep end of the pool. And all my students, I'm sure, are laughing if they could hear this, because what I do is I just pull them all back and I just say, okay, well, this is how we measure. This is how we get correct value. And we just slowly build off of very, very basic lessons. And the more you do that, and the more you have faith in that, your own style, it will appear on its own. like cream rising to the top. It's when we try to be good that we are held back, because it's an interest in something that's superficial. If I could explain that well. What your interest should be is just in the process itself. And if you appreciate the process and are patient, that's a big thing. Are patient with the process, then it'll eventually, it'll eventually develop the way you want. I just want to throw in an analogy. Yesterday in class, one of my students she was kind of complaining that she wanted to get better faster, and she didn't know why she wasn't as good as everyone else. And we were all doing the same technique, but she was wanting to kind of jump ahead and get to the details. And I said it was a lot like the rabbit and the hare, the race that they had. They both were running the same race. The turtle just went, slower, but it wound up winning because it went slow with the process and just had faith. But the rabbit was just, rushing and just kind of doing whatever he wanted to do. So, yeah, I think it's important to be patient with yourself and the process, and that will eventually get you where you want to go.
That's
everything you're saying is just, I'm just like bursting. Like it's, oh yeah, totally.
So with our next question, I feel like you guys have both kind of answered it a little bit, because so the next question was, can you share your journey in discovering and developing your authentic voice? Did it come naturally, or did you actively seek it out? And I feel like with what you both have said, that it's a little bit of both, that you sought it out by studying people, working with people, but then as you're patient with yourself, it just kind of naturally comes along through your journey, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I love what Carol said. I just wrote this in my journal this morning, that what's hard about being an artist is that we for so long are trying to be good. And I think that has to do with I look back in my life and being a little girl who's trying to be so good and so pleasing, and we bring all of our humanity through our art. And it's just, this whole thing about being good and how freeing it is. We have to do the work, we have to show up, but the being good part is like where I think it slows us down. And I think being hungry for that thing, that desire that we want this, like I now delight in my students that are so hungry, because I'm like, I just love that analogy. Like, you can kind of tame a wild horse, but you can't bring a dead one back to life. I love that. And because I'm like, okay, that was me. I was so wanting it and to be just like this person. And yesterday I had an incident. Something happened with something that and that someone I really respected, and I learned something else about them. And someone told me, be careful about, what did he say? Be careful about idolizing anyone too much, because when you really meet them, they might disappoint you. And what that brought to me was just like this young idea of, like, I still have this young idea that there's like these just great ones, but I'm learning that all artists are human, and our art is an expression of ourself. I mean, and now I'm totally cannot remember what the question was, but I think I was going somewhere with this.
We were just talking about, your journey in discovering your voice, and did it come naturally, seeking it out kind of thing. And
oh yeah, just being hungry for that. Like,
yeah,
like I think the reason people like Carol and I can talk about this and like teach probably pretty well is because we've been there. I'll speak for myself. Like, I wanted to be like someone, or to paint like someone, or as good as someone. Then I learned I don't need to paint like anyone else, and I can't finish it. I have to keep building foundation, and organically the finish comes after lots and lots of starts.
Yeah. Carol, do you want to add anything to that?
Sure, yeah. First of all, once again, Cami, I agree with everything you said.
Stop agreeing.
Yeah, that's a really good point. argument before this is over.
I'd like it, but I don't know. I would just be curious about something different. So I don't know if it'd be an argument.
But my thought on that question is that in terms of really finding something that's particular to you, I think there's two things that at least help me and that I see in others' works is that it's important to pay real close attention to just what's important to you. Like what do you wake up, what are you thinking? And how you can incorporate that into your work. And a lot of times what we're thinking about, just what's on our mind, does not seem important or it doesn't seem pretty or it doesn't seem like anyone would care, but it's what's on our mind. So if you want to develop your authentic voice, you need to not be afraid of what's important to you or what you're thinking. You need to respect whatever's things to be on your mind. And an example of that is, during 2020, during COVID, when they had all the fires out in California, I was just, as we all were, just devastated by it. And I was at home playing with my portraits, and I just took one out and I just put a big fire in the background, and I started thinking of the wildlife that was devastated, and I put a bird in this portrait, and it was like my homage to the devastation there. And it was such a dark thing to paint about, and like I didn't know if anyone was going to buy this or if anyone would like it, but that was not what was on my mind. What was on my mind was that I was really feeling for what happened in California, and I just wanted to paint about it. And I remember thinking, gosh, I really like this portrait. I hope I don't screw it up. But I did it anyway, and I think it's important to not worry about screwing up things, because you will. And we should all let ourselves make mistakes and then just keep going.
I love that.
Yeah.
I just had a thought when you were saying that was on your mind. I have a friend that's a newer painter, and he's painting iconic faces, like people who have done important things in history and currently. And he gifted me a painting that he did of Monet recently. And it's really like just totally different, totally unique. Like I've never seen anything like this. And I got kind of emotional because I realized that I finally got to what a privilege for me and for this world to see what was on his mind. And that is what painting can be. And I love that, Carol, because it actually gave me goosebumps, because I think that's so beautiful. Like what a privilege for us to be able to see what was on your mind. And we spend so much time wondering if it's good or waiting for others to validate if our work is good. And it just is such a waste of time, because life is so precious and way too short, that even let's just start being more curious about what people are doing instead of saying it's good or bad or judging it.
Yeah. I agree.
That's really good. So that you guys are doing great leading into our next it's like you're almost navigating our conversation. So the next question, I'm skipping one, but it's, have you ever faced a situation where your style, your voice wasn't immediately well received by the market, and how did you navigate that?
Mm-hmm.
I can go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all my life, I feel like it wasn't well received. I mean, I remember being very young, and classical realism was so passé, and everyone says you have to be hip and modern and cutting edge, and I'm just not cutting edge at all. And so when I was young, I had to fight that. And I think it's just very important when you get criticism from anyone to always consider the source. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. We all have our opinion, but the most important opinion is you.
Mm-hmm.
Try to take criticism, listen to it. It's good to be open and to see what other people are doing and how other people are being successful. But ultimately, you decide what you're working on. And I remember all through graduate school, they kept telling me that I just, I'm too old fashioned. I can't do realism. Portraits are, boring. If someone's obese or they're anorexic, then will listen. I got a lot of that my whole life, but in the end, I just stuck with what was important to me, and it took a long time, but it kind of came around. So that would be my advice: is do listen to criticism. Just hear everyone's voice, but stay true to your own.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't often have a lot to contribute because I'm not a professional artist. I do enjoy painting, but something you said, Carol, totally made me think. I did a painting for my brother-in-law for Christmas, and it's something I worked on harder than anything else I've ever worked on. I had an artist look at it. She critiqued me. It was great. And then I had someone look at it they're not an artist, but they were looking at it and they're like, yeah, it's missing this right here and this area. And it's just missing it. And I thought about it. And so I listened to what they said and I changed it. And they were completely wrong. Me as like a newer artist, I didn't know that. I took what they said and I was like, okay, well, obviously if they see that, I need to fix it. When really that's just them. It's their problem, essentially.
Yeah, that's definitely, I again, pretty much align with everything that you said. I think, can you repeat the question just so I can like make sure I stay on track a little bit?
Yeah, just we were talking about, was there a situation you personally faced where your style wasn't accepted, and how did you kind of navigate that?
Yeah, I think that kind of forever happens, except for that you develop more history the years. I mean, I've been professionally doing this for like 32 years now, which means I've been
real
selling it. I can't be, but it's true. So I think the criticism, it just is constant, and it's interesting because it comes in different layers. Even as you get more mature, more accomplished, gosh, we're just people doing this, and I'm just not even near where I want to be. So there was a long time when I'd hear a lot of voices about painting. I paint the river a lot. Well, the exact thing that now, I had a show at the Minnesota Marine Art Museum last year, along with the Hudson River School painters of the past. The river was the exact thing that people said, that's all she can paint. That's all she paints. She should try something else. And now that work has actually, gotten me recognized. So I think we just need to know, we all need to know, new painters, old painters, all the painters, that we're going to get rejected and we're going to be criticized. And I don't know, it's interesting because even with success, it comes in different levels and different layers. I think the number one thing, like Carol said, though, is to believe in yourself and to know what's true. It's like, they might not be right. Even when you get into a show or don't get into a show, or get an award or don't get an award, it doesn't mean that much. I mean, it's great to get big awards, but it's over. And then you go back to your easel and you're just going to get rejections. And it makes you, for me, I cry and cried, I get upset. Like I care that much. But then I just go, okay, well, I know that I can do this. And I go back to the easel. So yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Yeah. Rejection is a hard one.
And it's just the way it is. I mean, it's almost like being human, I guess, right?
Right?
Yeah.
So the next one we have is, and I don't know, do both of you paint in multiple medium, or are you both just straight oil painters?
Oh, I do. I was trained in oil, but I do pastel too.
Awesome.
I do oil now, but I used to do a lot of watercolor, and I was represented by a publishing house in my early 20s where I did prints, but I don't do that anymore. But yeah, I love oil.
Very cool. So that question then ties into, a lot of artists paint in multiple media because it can, one medium can inform another medium, or you just get bored with one and want to move on to something else. But since so many people paint in different mediums, or some people have different styles or interests, how can someone try to find cohesion in their voice across interests and across mediums? What thoughts do you have?
I'm happy to go.
Go for it.
Well, I think, first of all, I think you should do it all. I think you should try every medium and try to have fun playing with, not just learning it and trying to be good, but play with every medium. And in the end, it's just like a toddler. If you put a toddler in a room with a bunch of toys, they'll play with all the toys, but eventually they'll find their favorite. It'll be a natural coming of something, and relationship to a medium that's right for you. So, like for instance, Sargent, he's done amazing oils, but man, his watercolors just take my breath away. And then his charcoal drawings just inspire me so much. So I think it's good to let yourself try a lot of mediums so you can find the one that works right for you. And there doesn't necessarily have to be an abandoning of other mediums. You can do it all. I think that you should try it all.
I definitely want to try it all. This is the first time I've hosted Art School Live all week, and this is the first time that I've ever actually been interested in oil painting after watching some of these demos.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely piquing an interest. Cami, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Carol. I've tried everything, I think, but my favorite's probably crayons with my nieces and nephews. Like, I'm serious. I love the smell of crayons, and even like oil paint. I love the feeling of it. So for me, I think it's a feeling that I like about the oil paint. I draw all the time with pencil or pastel. So I guess all of that stuff. I've got a stack of gouache that I haven't dug into. I'm thinking about. I keep thinking about it. Watercolor. I do traveling, but yeah, I think it's good to try everything. And I just like Carol said, play, try. I mean, that's what's liberating about trying other mediums, is that it actually does. It's like a permission, a psychological like drop of a boundary that you can just go into it without having to be good.
Yeah.
But I've been painting that way lately though, which has been really fun. Like when I paint outside in plein air, I always think it's liberating for me because I don't feel like I'm making anything up. I'm just like, there it is. I've done it long enough that it's way easier for me than studio work. And it's just done. And so I'm like, I'm going to go play. I'm going to go study. And whatever it is, and it's over. There's a time limit. But I've been actually bringing that into my studio work the last few years more with a conscious, like, I'm going to just see what happens on this 30 by 40. I'm going to play. And I think the reason that's harder for me to do is because, first of all, the canvases or the linen is big and expensive, and it's time consuming. It takes more time. But my paintings have been getting, these play paintings are the paintings that I've been actually getting, big awards with and getting recognition for. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's a lot of liberation in it. The ones that my husband has wanted me to frame are the ones I've done on scrap paper that are like super small because I'm doing a paint along with an artist. And it's just freeing because I'm not so stressed about creating the good painting. And yes, I think there is a lot of freedom there. And I also think that it challenges you too when you try different mediums. Like so being a pastel artist, I tried watercolor, not realizing that it's opposite. With pastel, you start dark to light, and that's how it is for most opaque mediums. And then when I switched to watercolor, realized that's not how it works at all. So trying to figure out then how to pivot and try to paint with watercolor when it's, transparent, that was a real challenge. And then Cami, like you, I just started painting in gouache recently. And with pastel, there's no color mixing. I mean, you can kind of like overlay colors on your canvas or on your paper to get a color you want, but there's no pre-mixing. So switching over to gouache, I had to completely learn how to do color mixing, color theory.
Yeah.
Which is why I got your book, because I had no idea how to mix colors.
Yeah. That's what my whole book is about, is just the relativity of all of it. It's just so cool. It's like my life's obsession.
No, it's fantastic. So yeah, there's a lot to say for practicing and different things. And yeah, I think eventually the more you practice, it all comes together, like you said. So our last question in this section of talking about authentic voice is a little more, I don't know, maybe controversial, but I wanted to ask, so in your experience, the two of you as an artist, have you noticed that there are significant differences in the subjects addressed by contemporary male, female artists? Is there any sort of gender, what am I trying to say? Does gender play a role in artistic expression, or does that come through in a canvas, I guess? Does that come through in a painting? Can you look at a painting and say that's a male, that's a female? Does that impact you in any way?
Okay, I'm going to just shoot off the hip here because the thing that came to my mind is I hope so. Because I used to try to be like a stronger painter, or, I was given a lot of feedback about being a woman and not saying I'm a woman. And I knew older women like that would use only their last name to not be identified as a woman. I think there's an uprising right now of strength right now with women. And this is not, I love men. Like I have a son, I have a fiance, I have a dad. I love men, and I know what it's like to be me, which I'm a woman. So I think in any professional career or any profession, there's maybe a somewhat of a challenge of, there can be for anyone, any humans, right? But I can speak from being a woman, and I was told some things in my 20s by some teachers that I should not ever be associated with any female organizations or anything like that, and to not use it as an excuse. And to me now, as we talk about authenticity, like I love beautiful, soft things, like Carol said, paint what you love, or she said something like that. Like to me, I love beautiful, soft things, and that's what I'm drawn to. So when there was a period of my life where I was trying to paint like a strong male, that was my own problem and insecurity. It's no one else's, but it's when I wasn't being authentic. So now I just paint whatever is beautiful to me, or whatever stirs me or moves me, or whatever it is. So I don't know if that answered the question, but I do think whatever it is, if it's a big, huge skyrise structure, or if it's an industrial scene, for me, that does not move me. Although I did a lot of that in my early years. But now I want to be quiet by the river. I want to be noticing the subtle nuances. And and that's authentic to me.
Yeah, I love that. Carol, your rebuttal.
Well, I think we might have our first disagreement, Cami.
Yeah. Okay. Yay.
Well, I'm not sure it's a disagreement, an understanding of it. I just feel like I don't think there's a difference between male and female art. I think that I look at Cassatt's paintings of her, mother and children, and I see a softness in there, and then I see Monet has a softness, and I really don't think there's a difference between male and female art. And I think that you're right, that definitely people have given advice that says, don't say you're a female artist. I mean, I've heard that kind of thing sometime, but I just ignore it. And if we see artwork in a gallery, at least I can't look at it and say, oh, that's a masculine piece or that's a feminine piece. Because we could look at Renoir's work, and his work is extremely feminine. Mm-hmm. So I think that, I think that they're equal, and I don't have the ability to see a difference. I haven't noticed a difference, at least in my experience.
Mm. No, yeah, I think just to kind of clarify, I think what I was answering is for my work and my authenticity, not me identifying others as female or male. Because that doesn't matter to me. But for me, making sure that I'm staying true to what is for me, for my art. Mm-hmm.
I was just trying to have an argument before this thing ended.
Dang, we almost had one.
You tried. Okay, so we're going to shift gears into our second topic, which is growing your art career. So the first one is, was there a pivotal moment or a particular step that you took early on in your career that kind of helped you launch as a professional artist? Who's going first?
Go ahead, Carol.
Okay, I'll go. The thing that changed for me was when I started entering juried shows. I hadn't even known about juried shows for many years in my professional life, other than that they were there, but I hadn't really considered trying to submit. I just kind of showed in local shows, and then once I started doing juried shows, then I got to meet other artists and make more connections, and more people saw my work, and then they contacted me about, you know, uh, my school and my own commissions. So that was a big step, is just connecting with juried shows and going to juried shows. Yeah, brings people, artists together.
Yeah, I think it's been a slow climb for me. I don't think it was I don't know if there's one. I think just in a way, I think it was meeting other artists and like other artists that were also working hard in this thing. That's probably, and shows too. I mean, but that's where I met the other artists. I always encourage my students or anyone to be part of the organizations, the nonprofit like Oil Painters of America or AIS or AWA or any of those things. But just because I think it's so great to meet and to be exposed to other good art. Yeah, I don't know if there's one thing though. I just think it's a kind of a slow kind of climb for sure.
Great. Okay. So moving into the next one is, what are your top three, if you can narrow it down to three, what are your top three practices for getting your art seen, recognized, and sold in today's competitive art market?
Okay, so I can do that easily. So I definitely, the late Camille Priswatic was a teacher of mine, and she gave me some really good advice to just advertise, and that she just kind of made a budget for it. And so I listened to her, and I just kind of stayed steady with being active with that. And it's becomes a relationship, and that's pretty cool. So I do that. It's like support. The national shows have been huge for me, to get seen and recognized, and, getting just things like getting signature membership. It means something because it means that the criteria is a pretty big deal. So you have had to meet a criteria. So people know that, which is cool. And it gives you a goal to work hard on a piece. And then I do Instagram and I do email newsletters, and yeah, that's kind of the current, thing. And of course a website, but those are the main things.
No, that's great. Eric talks a lot about, I can't remember the artist who it was, because there was an artist early on who was kind of doing the same thing where they did an ad once and didn't get anything from it. So they're like, no, I'm not going to do it again. But
Yeah.
it really is that consistency. You have to have that budget. You have to continue to put yourself out there. Otherwise you become irrelevant because nobody sees you.
Can I just say one more thing about that too? Because they did not tell me to say this, and that this is just, I listened to people that I respected that were teachers of mine. And I said, okay, it's working for her. And I trusted that she had my best interest at heart. And I went, okay, and it's working. And so I'm going to just kind of do that. So there are models of people who are doing it that did it well and will say, here, do this. And so I did that. And then also there's a liberating, because I didn't have, I raised my children myself on art. I had no other means of support. I was single for 17 years as a single mom. So the reason I say that is because my means were I had very little extra money, but I budgeted and just did sometimes it was barely anything I could do, but it was liberating because there is a freeness of not being scared, of believing that if I keep doing this and I just keep at it, that it will work out. And when I almost had zero money, like I couldn't make a mortgage payment or something, then a painting would sell and I'd have enough to also do the next thing. So I kept putting it back out there. So that's what I have to say about that.
That's great. That just gave me chills. I love that when you feel like you're at the very end and then something happens and it's taken care of.
Yeah, and that's happened a lot to me.
That's awesome. Carol, what would you like to add?
Well, I really agree with everything that Cami has said. Those are all things that I would say myself. Getting contact with other artists is a big thing. Just having a conversation about what other people are doing and getting things out there is just helpful. But I think the main thing is just keeping at it. That's the thing. Because a lot of people, I've talked to a lot of artists that say, well, I love art and I really want to do it, but I'm just so bad at self-promotion. And I'm just like, well, you're going to have to work on that. You're going to have to do things that you don't want to do, period. If you're successful, like you're going to have to learn. You're going to have to learn things you don't want to do in order to do the things that you want to do. You can't, there's no other way. You can't just draw really well in your studio and hope people notice it. And you also have to accept a lot of rejection.
Yes.
And, you know, like you said, you know, if you get an ad and you put it out there and not enough people respond, then just say, okay, that was that time and try again. And I, just like Cami, was a single mother of two and didn't have lots of money for tons of advertisement and all that kind of stuff. So even with a very limited budget, you can just work hard at things and deal with rejection. But put yourself out there. You have to learn things you don't want to do while you're doing the things that you want to do.
Yeah, that is great.
Yeah.
That's really good advice. It's because it can definitely be scary, especially, I mean, both of you being single moms. I can't even imagine how difficult that was at times. And so to continue to sacrifice that little bit to try to, you know, push this forward so that you can provide for your family, I think that's awesome. That is so great. Sorry, getting teary-eyed. So let's move on. How do you typically determine the pricing for your art? Is it based on factors like size, medium, or time involved? Like, what is your kind of approach to that for someone who has never had to do that before? Because I know as artists, we definitely really undervalue what we do.
Yeah. I go by the square inch. I don't emotionally price my work. I mean, there's an occasion that something might be, I don't know, something once in a while there might be a little bit of variation on that, but I don't discount my work. There's not sales on it. There's it's the same for me as a gallery is everywhere. And then every couple of years I just increase the price and I didn't start too high. It's been a long time. But yeah, it's by the square inch.
And that makes it easy too. There's no calculations in there.
I have no emotions attached to it. I don't. I'm like,
we have your argument now.
Okay, let's go. Let's hear it.
I'm completely emotional with
oh no.
I'm charged by the square inch, but man, if it's working for you, maybe I should consider it. No, I basically charge based on if I want to keep the piece or not. You know, if I'm happy for it to go out into the world and I won't think about it again, I'll put a lower price. If it's something that's particularly successful, that means a lot to me, I'll put a higher price, and I'll just let the universe receive it as is. And there's generally a big wiggle room in what my personal work goes for. Now, when I do commissions, then there's, you know, more of a particular price line for different sizes. But for my own work, it's completely emotional.
That's funny.
I did not expect you to say that, Carol. I did not. I'm not emotional. Every time I sell a painting, I'm like, cool, I can keep paying the bills and paint more tomorrow. I'm like, good. All right, good.
Well, so now that we're talking about selling paintings, how important is it, do you think, to have gallery representation versus selling it on your own? And are there any certain steps that you need to take to get into a gallery? What's your kind of approach and your thoughts on that?
Do you want me to go first?
Go for it.
Or you can go. Either way.
And it's going to be
I can go. And I've been chosen. Okay. Well, okay. So I used to be in a lot of galleries. And I love galleries. Trust me. I mean, I wish yeah. So the gallery business has changed. Anyone can reach us pretty much. And in my opinion, we need both. We need galleries and we need partnerships with artists and galleries. I have 3 galleries that are pretty good, really good actually, that I've been having conversations with lately that want to have my work. And I haven't had my work in galleries for a number of years, a little bit here and there, but I sell my own work and I keep doing it. And I have a show once a year. And it goes really well. So as far as getting into galleries, I do have experience with that, and I have really, really good friends that are in a lot of galleries. So I guess just like waiting for someone else to like believe in you or like your work, I don't spend a lot of time waiting for people to accept me. I just keep doing my thing. And so what I think is that if you're wanting to be in a certain gallery, try it, approach them. But what I tell my students is when you want to get out there, and it can be anytime, I tell them, because I mentor people that are really serious about this and wanting to do it. And I tell them to have 20 cohesive pieces. What that means is that if you start, like you're like, I want to go into a gallery. So you should have a body, in my opinion, in my experience, you should have a strong body of work. So maybe go quiet for a while and don't show the whole world everything you're doing while you're growing. Because we keep having these spurts where we grow and then we kind of plateau for a while and then we grow. So try to have 20 cohesive pieces, not in subject matter necessarily, but in quality. So like number 1 is as strong, or number 20 is as strong as number 1. And then you're like, okay, I'm ready to kind of show this collection or my body of work.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good way to be ready to go to galleries. And not every gallery is for every artist. I mean, not everyone's a fit, so.
Yeah, I think that's really great advice. Carol?
Yeah, I think if you're interested in getting into galleries, the best first thing to do is try to get into group shows, because there's less personal pressure, and then you can meet other artists, so you'll have like 4 or 5 pieces. So try to get into group shows. And then I personally don't think it's I would say be very careful about why you want to be in a gallery and which gallery you go to, because once you start with a gallery, then every gallery has their own curatorial vision. Of course, they're trying to market, but they also want a particular type of artist or a particular type of art. And you might think you fit into that, but you might get into that and then they're selling, and then you kind of have to feel like you have to keep producing that because they're selling that. You get kind of caught in a whirlwind. So it's very important to not produce work for what the gallery wants. And galleries have contracts, which I understand it's a business, they have to, but just be very careful and read everything about the contract. Don't be so excited that you finally got accepted to a gallery. Make sure that the contract is exactly what you want. And I think Cammie had a good point that I think it's healthy to have a play of both, show some in galleries, but also do it on your own. Working on your own or selling on your own is much easier nowadays. You can sell stuff online and have a gallery online. So I would say play with both, but be very careful if you get into a gallery so that you don't start producing what they want you to produce, because remember, your voice is what's important, not what other people want to hear.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it should be a partnership. So I would just say, don't be desperate. I mean, it should be they're not discovering you. I mean, this should be an equal partnership, not just you're so lucky to be here. So that you help each other. And so that it's good for you and nourishing for you and your art, and just like everything that Carol said. Yeah. Like why do you want to be in there, and think about that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not losing your voice on that. That's great. Okay, so next question is, so we're all working now. We've all got families, you're doing your art. What's the best way? How do you time manage all of this stuff so that you can focus on family, focus on art? Because it's not just the making of the art, but it's also, like we've talked about, the promoting of the art. You have to figure out how to do the marketing of it too. So how do you marry all those pieces together in a way that allows you to get all this stuff done?
Okay.
Do you hire somebody to do it all yourself?
Yeah, I think that's something I really feel strongly about. All my life I've heard artists or women artists who are raising kids having difficulty with that, and a lot of people say, well, you have to compartmentalize, like this is my art time, my business time, my family time, and separate everything so that you can kind of be organized. And I have found, at least in my experience, that is not the best way to go, because when you're intensely at your studio, then you're resenting that because you want to be with your family, and then when you're with your family, you're kind of resenting that because you want to be in your studio. So if you have kids and you have a family and you're trying to make everything work, I would say just try to go with the flow of melding the two together as much as possible. Let the kids be in your studio. Yes, it will be hard. Yes, it will be messy, but let the kids be in your studio when you're working. Draw your kids if they're there. See how you can mesh the two. And an example is like, I used to teach workshops, but when my kids were young, it was hard because when they're like 6 years old, I can't have 12 people in my house and successfully, look after the kids and the students. So I would get a babysitter. And one time my babysitter just showed up too early and dropped off the kids, and they were like 6 years old and 5 years old. And we were in the middle of a critique, and my 5-year-old just jumped up on me and wanted me to hold and would not let go. So I did the entire critique holding my 5-year-old on my hip.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fine. I wasn't like yelling at the child to go to their room or anything. I think we need to realize that it's so doable to do both at the same time. Love your kids, let them be a part of your work, and still be a serious artist, and let the two mesh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was nice. That was nice. I think for me, the key's always just been communication. Like I said, Paige and Nick were 4 and 5 when I became a single mom and solely 100%, raised them myself. And so I definitely was teaching that way back then, and they were around, and they did get acclimated to it. So it wasn't really that big of a deal to them, and my students were so great, it was, but also, so like the communication part was pretty important, that I did have time, and it wasn't just a free-for-all for them to just be, I had structure. I'm kind of more of a structure person, where I would communicate to them on Sunday night. So we'd all like kind of go over, even when they were little, like, okay, you have this on Monday, you have this Tuesday, I have this, mom has to paint here. So when they were really little and I was doing studies, like 60-minute studies, Mary Pettis had me doing these Pashad challenges. And so she taught me that, like 60 minutes of just, that's what you can do with your time, do the best you can in 60 minutes, done. So I'd have an egg timer, and I would like I remember my son was still in pull-ups, like he was in, so he was little, and I just said, okay, mama's going to do, and I would get them occupied, like with a thing to do or something, or apples or, something. But I would say, mama has 60 minutes, and they would know. And I did it every day. And I'd say, when this timer goes off, I'm done. And if there's an emergency, and they were little, so it's not like I wasn't watching them, but they were leaving me be because I communicated even when they were little. Mm-hmm. they'd come, the timer would go up and they'd come ripping down, brushes down, mama, brushes down. And those are my really beautiful memories. And now it's easy to say, oh, it was so great and so easy. It was really hard. I mean, that's the truth. It wasn't always easy, but it was really doable because they were like, we were part of a team, you know, we're a family, and I communicated. And if I didn't paint for a couple days, I'd get crabby and they go, you should paint, you know. So I think it's communicating. And I think whether you're a mom or a dad or a spouse, or, you know, you got to tell your dog or your friend, I think just having some kind of, I don't know, regimen. And I treat it like a job now. I'm out here at 8, just no matter what. I'm like, I got to get to work, even though I'm the only one that's holding myself accountable. It's almost 8. So yeah.
Great advice.
Yeah, that's awesome. This has been such a great conversation. Is there anything else that either of you want to add? We're going to take a short break here in just a second, but is there anything else you guys want to add about what we've talked about today? I feel like we've been very comprehensive. We've covered a lot.
I love this. Thank you. I mean, I loved all of this. I love just talking to you guys, and I wish we could like see the people that were out there, because that's cool. But I would just like to say one thing about, like, if you have this desire to do this thing, it is hard, but it's not impossible. And like, get a schedule and get a regimen. And if you have a desire to do this thing, there's a reason for it, and you can do it. I mean, I think there's room for all of us to be as good as we can possibly be without competition.
No, I would agree with that.
And I'd like to end with a thought too. I think it's two things. It's important to realize that, you know, we see our limitations and we're scared, but just because you don't see a way doesn't mean that there isn't a way. And you have to let yourself be open to things happening that you don't expect, that will bring you forward. And the other thing is, don't let your pride stop you. A lot of times people really want to be good and they want to be received, and you have to recognize the only way to get successful at anything is to do a really, really bad amount of bad work.
Yes.
Lots of mistakes, get lots of rejection, and just welcome rejection. Just let it go. And then once you kind of get used to understanding that that's part of the game, and your pride is not stopping you from continuing, then you can do anything. I think you can do anything.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just totally agree.
We've only disagreed on one thing. That's good. Well, we're going to take just a quick short break. We've got the Q&A coming up here in just a minute. So if you guys have any last minute questions, things that you've thought of, please drop those in the chat for Cammie and for Carol. And we're going to get to those in just a little bit. Ladies, I am going to put you in the background for just a moment.
Okay.
We'll be right back. So we've talked about a lot of different things today. You know, time management being that last one that we talked about, trying to find time to paint, trying to find time to study. I know that that's difficult for me right now, especially when you want to try a new medium or try a different subject or technique. So I can definitely understand, you know, trying to find the time to fit all of that in. And, you know, maybe if you're retired, that's not even a problem for you. So good for you. But Eric has always studied. He loves to study things, whether it's art, whether it's marketing, whether it's learning about learning. He's found that a lot of the best ways to gain new skills is to immerse yourself in that topic, to just sink in and take a deep dive into it. And that's why he created these virtual events that we've been talking about. We've got the Realism Live event coming up here in November. And that's what I wanted to take a quick minute to talk about, is our Realism Live event. So if you guys don't mind, I am going to play a quick video for you.
Welcome to Realism Live.
Welcome to Realism Live.
Welcome to Realism Live.
This is my lesson for Realism Live.
Welcome to today's lesson. Welcome to my class.
I hope you enjoy this demo.
Let's get started.
You have an opportunity to go to an art conference online, and this is it. For the next 3 days, we're here to make you better and to inspire you. You're going to experience massive growth this week. This is the best possible opportunity to really push yourself to the next level. You can do this.
Well, I guess it doesn't want to finish playing for you, which is a bummer for you because it's a great video. But so we're talking, this one is Realism Live. We also have pastel, acrylic, watercolor, and plein air live. Realism, this will be our 5th one. We started this during the pandemic, actually, when things shut down and we had to cancel our convention. And we're going to have 24 artists. It's going to be a great time. We've got guest speakers every day, including Cami and Carol, attendees from over 40 countries. And as you saw in the video, well, I guess you didn't really see in the video, you saw some of it. We're going to talk about a variety of different subjects and styles because, you know, realism, it can go from loose to very tight classical realism. So there's a lot of leeway in there. And it's always good for figure artists to know how to paint landscapes so you can put that into the background, and for, you know, landscape painters to know how to paint figures so you can put those in your foreground. So there's a lot of different things that you learn from these events, no matter what it is that you're, you know, what goal you're trying to reach. And whether you're a professional artist already, or you're a hobby artist, or you're just getting started, there's a lot of different things that you can do, and a lot of different things that you can learn. And I say that from experience because I actually, Pastel Live is the one that I'm most passionate about because I love pastel. And it's the one where I tend not to work, don't tell Eric, because I want to paint along with all of the demos. So I actually spend my time watching each of these demos, painting along, learning from all of these. And it really is amazing. So I want to share with you guys the faculty lineup that we have because it's really stellar. So Realism is coming up the 13th through the 15th of November, and our faculty includes Juliet Aristides, Susie Baker, Ben Bauer, Jana Balinson, and she'll actually be on Art School Live with me on Friday, Lynn Diefenbach, Michelle Dunaway, Steve Forster, Christy Gordon, Thomas Jefferson Kitts, Angus McEwen, Cami Mendlick, yay, Michael Mentler, Carol Peebles, woohoo, Mary Pettis, Mark Pugh, Matt Ryder, Sarah Stedwick, Daniel Sprick, Daryl Urig, Anthony, I'm going to say butcher it, it's Wakulis, I think, Don Whitelaw, and Zhao Ming Wu, and Vincent Zeus. Oh, and Zane York. So here's kind of what you can expect from this event. So we've got the Essentials Day, which is, I mean, it's a great thing for beginners. It's got a lot of intro techniques, but it's also a great refresher. There's a lot of information that you might have forgotten about, or maybe just to help you kind of get ready for the main events. So there's Essentials Day, plus there's the main event. We're going to have demos from 25 top realist artists. We're going to have breakout rooms every day where you can go in and meet other artists. You are making connections, and we've, you know, heard from attendees who've come to several of these events that they've met someone in a breakout room and ended up getting together in real life to go painting together. So it's really fun for you to get to know the other artists that you're attending these events with. We also have a daily paint along session during our cocktail hour at the end of every day, where we all get together on Zoom and we chat and we paint along, and it's a lot of fun. There is a private Facebook group for us, so you can stay in touch with all the attendees, you know, post the paintings that you're doing during the event, ask questions, all kinds of stuff. And my favorite is discounts on art supplies, because who doesn't love more art supplies, right? So we have 3 different ticket tiers. There's 4 different options for Realism Live. So we have General, which gives you 7 days of replay access to the main event. Premier, which is our most popular and gives you 60 days. And then VIP, which gives you a full year of replays. And then we also have Essentials Day only, if that's the only one that you want to attend. Like I said, it's great for beginners. And it's got all of the same, you know, layout of the rest of the event. It's just one day. So since you guys are all here watching with us today, we are going to give you the main event and Essentials, all 4 days of the demos for one price. So this is the retail price of these ticket tiers, $11.94 all the way to $19.94, what it includes. You guys don't have to pay that. Our current price right now on the website for these 2 is $5.94 for general, up to $12.94 for VIP. Still not going to pay that price, because your price today is, if you buy a general ticket with Essentials Day, you're only going to pay $3.97. Premier is $4.97, and VIP is going to be $10.97. And that's just a thank you, since you are here watching this event with us today and taking time out of your schedule to learn and talk with Carol and Cami. Plus, if you sign up in the next hour, we have several bonus videos we're going to share with you. We have one from Max Ginsburg, Jove Wang, William A. Schneider, William Size Jr., Patricia Watwood, Irina Roman, Sangeeta Padki, Andrew Schuring. So these are, oh, and Clive Tyler, forgot about him, and Tom Lynch. So all of these bonus videos together, you're going to get all 10 of these. It's a $1,700 value on top of what you're saving on the ticket. So I would highly recommend it. We also have a 100% money back guarantee. If you watch that first day and you're like, no, this is just not what I was expecting, it's not for me, we're going to give you your money back because we want you to be happy, right? So book now, capture discounts. You can see the link on the screen, or below the screen rather. So be sure to check that out. And we've got multiple payment options for you. So realismlive.com/offer, check it out. And for those of you who are on the fence, I totally get it. We've already talked about time management. Like if you don't make the time, you're never going to have the time. So if it's something you're serious about, you need to make the time to do it. I know cost can be an issue for some, and definitely if it's not within your budget, don't do it. We don't want you to spend money if it's not within your budget to do. But if you are serious about trying to get to that next level, I do encourage you to invest in yourself. I've personally always found it selfish if I spend money on myself. That's just my own thinking. And so I've never wanted to take a workshop or take classes or anything because that would take money away from my family. But my husband saw the value in learning. And so he finally pulled the trigger for me and bought me a workshop. And it really was phenomenal. And I got to see some growth. And I really learned that if you take the time to put into practice the things that you're learning, you actually improve much quicker than if you're just studying a little bit here, and not actually putting that into practice. So it's a really great experience. These events are super fun. I love going to them. I love watching them just because I think it's so much fun. And it's such a great opportunity to learn from so many artists in one place. So yeah, I really encourage it if you are able to afford that. I think it's a great opportunity. So I want to thank you all so much for listening to my little spiel about that. And I want to get back to our Q&A. So I'm just going to put up music for just 1 second so I can get a drink of water, and we're going to come back with our Q&A. We'll be right back. Thank you for that. I got a little bit parched there. So I'm going to bring Carol and Cammie back. Welcome back, ladies.
Hello.
Okay, let's kick this off. So we have a lot of questions. So I'm going to try to find, and there's one actually that I wanted to answer because I just spoke about it. So Jennifer Stringer, was there one light bulb moment when you were a beginner that really hit home and stayed with you? And I'm going to ask you both this in a second, but Jennifer, I wanted to answer that because that's one I get really excited about. Is I've considered myself a beginner for about 15 years because I never took workshops. Like I said, I never studied or anything. I just painted every now and again. And I went to PACE 2 years ago when it was in Denver because I live in Colorado. And it's the first time I took my pastels with me because they're difficult to travel with. So I never took them anywhere. And so it was here. So I was like, great, I'm going to take them. And I painted with Natasha Eisenhower, which was awesome, Ken Lordier. And that's when I had this light bulb moment after I came back and I started to put into practice. I was like, oh, I learned this. They said this, you should do this. And my paintings really did improve within a couple months. Like I was amazed because I actually was learning something and doing something with it. So that's my moment. But now I'll let the ladies answer because they might have something more insightful.
So what was the question exactly?
The question is, was there a light bulb moment when you were a beginner that really hit home and has stayed with you?
I remember one. I was going to say that my light bulb moment recently is that I'm realizing that I'm not a beginner because I feel like I am, but that was kind of not totally the answer. I remember being told that you can't learn to paint, or you can't be taught to paint, or you can't teach someone to paint, but you can teach them how to see. Like I heard that over and over again, but I thought, well, even when I was a younger person teaching, I was like, well, I'm teaching people every day, but that you don't actually learn to paint. You learn the tools, and that we're creating an illusion, and it's just paint. Like that to me, to really have that seep in deep and to go, oh, this is just an illusion and it's just paint. That is profound to me still. And I remember when I first understood that, like, oh, we're creating an illusion of light. It's not really light. So that was my big epiphany.
I love it. Carol, anything you'd like to add?
I guess the main thing that I see in my students, if we're talking about beginners, is I think a lot of beginners fight with the idea of believing what they see, at least in terms of if you're working with realism and you're wanting a likeness in your subject, especially with portraiture. And I find when my students have a breakthrough moment or an aha moment, it's that they're not fighting with the observations they make with measuring or understanding value, and they just accept what they see. A lot of times we fight with what we see.
Mm-hmm.
So I think once you get to the point where you just let everything go and you're just not trying to draw what you think should be, but just find what you see, then things come a lot quicker. And I think that's a big aha moment for a lot of students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Agree.
So this question is for both of you because you both teach, is how do you attract clients to, I mean, we talked about marketing, in order to get collectors, but how do you try to attract your students?
I'll start. I didn't try. I actually never dreamt of being a teacher or teaching. So even that happened pretty organically. And for me, it just started, and then I really love teaching, and I love the problem solving of helping individual people on a concept of the fundamentals. So for me, it really has been word of mouth, and I've actually never done an ad for that I can think of for any classes. They get, yeah, it's organic.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Carol?
I had a very different experience. I kind of went the old school route. I was a student and then realized that I definitely wanted to teach, and I loved teaching. And so I had to get a master's because I wanted to teach at the university level. So I had my undergraduate degree, and then so I went and got a master's degree and then applied to universities and taught at universities until I realized that I didn't want to do what universities were telling me to do. I wanted to do my own atelier and learn and teach classical realism. But and then I just started advertising. So basically, I did the old school route of just getting all the degrees, jumping through all the hoops, and then paying for the advertisement, and then things came.
Yeah,
Multiple ways of going around and doing it, right, ladies?
that's the way of doing this thing. Yeah.
So you, Cami, you mentioned your Pochade challenge, and I'm sure Carol, I mean, you're always painting. Every time I've talked to you, you're painting. So how do you maintain that self-discipline and get yourself to paint every day? Is there a specific way that you approach it? Like Cami, you said you'd set a timer every day. What's the best way to, maybe not the best way, but what has worked for you to try to make sure that you are painting every day in the studio? Something simple, or is it your setup that you've got everything right there ready to go? How do you kind of approach that?
Well, I don't set timers necessarily anymore. That was more when the kids were little, and I paint a lot, but I also have a lot of other things to do too so there's different things, but that I paint for, like shows or museums or galleries or whatever is coming up, deadlines. So I have a lot of that stuff. So that's what's happening now. But so pretty much I paint, my goal is to paint 5 days a week. And I for sure paint 8 to noon every day. Like that's like non-negotiable. So I have a non-negotiable, but what I like to do is inspired by my daughter who played the viola, that she'd always warm up with strings. For her viola, she'd do warm-ups on her strings. So I paint plain old fruit for 30 minutes every morning before. So I do an exercise and I just study form, and it just feels really good. And I actually don't usually wake up going, I want to paint. I'm disciplined that I'm not inspired to paint, but painting inspires me.
Mm-hmm.
Once I get there, I'm like, whew. So a lot of the times I just don't feel like it, but you can't just go on feelings.
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't, it's not really that successful for me to just do what I feel like doing. So I have a schedule. I mean, I just have a schedule, and I do the do not disturb. So like nobody can disturb me. And they know that. My people know that. So
I love that. My people know that.
yeah, they do. And it is a communication thing. So the guilty thing that we often feel like, oh, I'm guilty when I'm not painting, or I'm guilty when that feeling of like, if I'm here, wish I was there, I should be here. So if you communicate, with the exception of like if there's an abusive relationship or something, which I actually do know about that a long time ago, but that the healthy people in your life, if you say I'm going to paint these hours, it should be okay, And so I think communicating is huge for me. Like, yeah.
I think communication is number one in all relationships. So
Yep.
there you go. Carol?
I think discipline. I think everything Cammie said was correct. I'm agreeing with her across the board. I think discipline is what makes someone really successful. I think discipline is more important than talent. And if you can make yourself every day do something, whether you want to or not, then that's what's going to get you where you want to go. So for instance, if you wake up and you just are not inspired to paint, you can still make yourself go to the studio. And what I do when something like that happens is I'll just, I'll make some tea, I'll put on some incense, and I'll just sharpen pencils. I'll spend an hour sharpening pencils, or, rearranging the supplies that I have, or going through past works and studying them and saying, okay, what was good about this? What was bad about this one? So you can always be in the studio working. You don't have to always be inspired to create masterpieces. That's unrealistic. And I think the more you kind of look at it as not like, how can I fit this into my day, but just to accept this is my day. I'm going to be doing this, whether it's, sharpening pencils or rearranging. Like, you accept it as part of your day, then it'll happen. Don't wait for inspiration. That's for amateurs.
Totally agree. There is like no excuses. I mean, you just can't have it. You just can't make excuse. You can't do it. Like, it's a non-negotiable. Like, yeah.
Yes. So this next question. So I know for me, I've been talking with pastel societies about kind of how things are doing, the benefits of joining, and that kind of thing. And Cammie, you touched on it earlier about talking about juried shows. What are your thoughts on the importance of joining a society or an organization to how did that help you in your career and that kind of, in your artwork? How did being a part of those organizations help you?
Oh my gosh. I mean, well, first of all, when I was younger and when I would get in, which wasn't always, which was mostly not, but I would get into big national shows. Just going to the shows and being around the art was super huge. And then when I started getting big awards, like, well, there was even financial. I mean, like when I got the Dorothy Dryhouse Mellon Foundation Award, it was $25,000. I mean, so that was really beneficial. That was amazing. And, there's accolades, but then there's actually getting paid, which we need to continue to work. So, but that's not always going to happen. It's mostly not going to happen. And but I mean, just the benefit of being part of an organization and having like a goal or a deadline to do your very best painting that you're capable of at the time to submit and try. I mean, and then friends, getting new friends that are also doing doing it. I think it's great. I mean, I'm all for organizations.
Yeah, that camaraderie when you're around people who understand this, they have the same mindset. I think it's just,
Yes.
it's encouraging.
It's inspiring, right? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's lifting. Mm-hmm.
Carol, anything you want to add to that?
Sure. Yeah, I agree with Camden. For me, it was actually a big change when I joined the Degas Pastel Society and then also the Pastel Society of America. And I just I joined them and then I started following along and studying other artists' work. It was a huge change because I just started. You know, it's fun to be a little competitive. You know, like not in a bad way, but just out there. And do you like that? Do you not like that? And it's great to know what you don't like because that helps your own artistic voice. So if you can be in organizations and make friends with people and discuss art and argue about things you like and don't like, that just goes such a long way in terms of your own development. And also, like as to Cammie's point, it's very what's the word? It drives you. So like I remember applying for the Portrait Society of America, and I was declined a couple of times, and it just was so heartbreaking because I admire that organization so much, the Portrait Society of America, everything that they do. But then I finally got accepted with signature status, and it it helped help me just make connections, and I think it's just a fun good thing to do. Just why not try them? I think it would be helpful.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it was very encouraging. I just joined the society here at the start of the year, and it has been so encouraging and uplifting, like you said, Cammie, even in just, 10 months. It's been awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, most artists are pretty cool. Like we want everyone to be their best. I mean, like most people, of course, you've got the occasional human that doesn't, but like, I mean, that is the point. It's like, there's room and it's exciting to see someone doing well. I mean, I love that. So
yeah, artists can be very, very generous with their time, with their knowledge, and it's awesome to experience that. So I very much encourage you guys to join a society. So our next question, Carol, this one's directed at you. I am also a portrait painter and am transitioning from mostly commissions to only my own work. Do you have any advice to change the way I am making money? Put you on the spot there, didn't we?
I don't know that I have advice for that. The way I make money with portraiture is through my commission.
Yeah.
A lot of the work that I do, which I consider my own work, like what you see behind me on my walls and all that, is my fun. But it's different for everyone. But yeah, that's how I make my money with portraiture is I do commissions.
So you're using the commissions to support the rest of your painting and all the fun stuff. That's good. I like that. So we need some encouragement here. So this lady, Joanna, says, I'm currently being art shamed by a new art league I joined in my area. It's disheartening to feel this way from peers. I'm trying to shrug it off, but makes me doubt my imagination and style.
What does she mean by art shame?
I'm not entirely sure, but I don't know if it just means that they don't like her style and they're telling her it's not good enough. I'm not sure. But we talked a little bit about discouragement. How do you, when you guys hear discouraging comments about you and your artwork, how do you kind of approach that? I mean, is it just as easy as brushing it off, or do you have to think about it?
My advice would be to listen to what they have to say always, because maybe they're right. Always be open, but at the same time, just be like, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, thanks. I heard you. And then believe in yourself. And then in the end, if you want to keep doing what the other people are not liking, then keep doing it.
Yeah. Cammie?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, we don't have a lot of context for this, like what's the organization, what's the, who are the people, all of that, consider the source, all of that kind of stuff. I guess if it matters a lot to you, which it does, I'm assuming you're here, I guess I wouldn't pay a ton of attention to that. But like Carol said, listen, it might not be delivered in the source may not even be, might not be a reliable source, but maybe it's time to get away from that and get a mentor or like a solid teacher that is really has your best interest at heart, and can teach you something solid. Maybe, or maybe this is your path and this is what you're doing, but I just wouldn't. It hurts, but I wouldn't give it a lot of your time and attention. Just kind of regroup and go, but be open to, what is this? Like, why is this coming? Something's not aligning. It's either the people aren't aligning. Maybe there's another direction for where you need to be right now, but something's not aligning, or that, whatever it is. Don't give up. I mean,
don't give up. That is key.
But maybe that's not the fit, too. Maybe there's not a fit there. So
yeah.
But we don't have a lot of context to that question. So.
Okay, so I have two more that I'm going to ask because we are getting close on time. So this first one is Tammy. How did you approach the material in your book?
How did I approach the material?
Well, yeah, like how did you come up with your color theory concept in your book?
Well, like I've been teaching for over 20 years. I keep saying that, and then more years go by, and so it's a lot of years. So throughout my years of teaching, my students, I started at the classical realism with Mary Pettis, so that was a long time ago. So I have those fundamentals, and then I studied with other people, but my teaching just kind of developed from teaching. So I started one way, but I started realizing that it was color that people had the biggest problem with. I mean, we can measure and draw, and measuring and all that, and drawing is really important, for sure. But value to me started becoming part of color. Mm-hmm. And so my method of what's in my book is the method in which I teach, which was, gathered from lots of studying, lots of experiment, but seeing what works for students. And my main way of teaching is 2 colors per average out of a primary palette. And then I started expanding my palette, my primary palette. Primary is just yellow, red, and blue. And then expanding my primary palette with 2, like a warmer and a cooler palette, a primary. So like a warmer yellow and a cooler yellow, but it's all relative. And then just really realizing that this is just we're just creating the illusion of light with color. So it's just been about 20 years of just documenting what I've been teaching, and lots of students just encouraging me to share it. So yeah, I just wrote it because it took almost 20 years to do. So it's just what I teach.
Well, I'm glad you did, because I actually happen to have my copy right here. There's lots of information in here, and I haven't been able to dive very far into it yet, but I'm very excited about it. So thank you, Cami.
And it's important to start from the beginning and read all the way through. So don't jump just to the exercises.
I saw that instruction and I have learned. So yeah, I actually have a link for that a little bit later, because we actually have one of Cami's videos to give away towards the end. So cool. We'll link to share that. And then Carol, our next question is, somebody said you were working on a book and was wondering if that was still happening.
Oh, thank you for asking. Yes. I have accumulated a lot of notes over the years, and yes, I'm working on it, but it's not coming out anytime soon. But I will definitely be yelling from the highest mountaintop when it is.
Well, that is good to hear and good to know. We'll be on the lookout for that. So we are coming up on time. We've got not very much time left, but I wanted to thank both of you for taking the time out of your schedule to be here today. This was such a fabulous conversation, and it was so much fun to get to chat with both of you. And you are actually both going to be on Realism Live coming up here soon. So I wanted to ask if you could maybe give us a teaser on what you're going to talk about.
Go ahead, Carol.
Okay. I'm going to be talking about literature and drawing, the foundational steps of getting a likeness in drawing, which is my favorite thing. So working in charcoal and keeping it simple. value in line quality study and likeness and features, that kind of thing. I really hope y'all can join me. I'm very excited about it.
Cool.
I'm excited too. Portraiture is not my forte. They always, I don't know what it is. I can't get the eyebrows right.
Me too.
Cami, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to be talking about form and color in the landscape and just the importance of plane changes and how to see plane changes in the landscape so that you can understand that it's a color, and if you get it as a plane, you lay it down and you make the color. And so it's going to be form in the landscape. I'm
Very
excited.
cool. I'm very interested to hear what that's going to be like. It'll be fun.
Mhm.
Well, ladies, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. That is our show, and we are going to get to some more giveaways. So, ladies, I'm going to send you to the back so that I can give away some things. We will see you guys in a little bit. Okay, so some things that I want to give away, because like I said, I like giving things away. So I'm going to call out some names. And if I call your name, please send me an email, winner@streamlinepublishing.com. Make sure that you put I'm here in the chat when I call your name so that I can make sure to get you these awesome giveaways. So the first one, like I said, is a video that Cami just did with us this year. Mastering Water. It's one of this year's best-selling videos, and it is a companion to her book. So I encourage that. And the winner of Cami's video is going to be Thomasine Blevins. Thomasine Blevins, you have won Cami's water video, Mastering Water video. And I'm going to put a link to that as well as her book in the chat so that anyone interested can check those out because I do recommend them. The next video is Daniel Sprick. He is going to be at Realism Live. This is his painting Light and Value video with us. He also has a portrait video, but this video is going to go to, let's see here. You guys are moving super fast in the chat. This one is going to go, oh, wow. It's going to go to, come on, Carolyn Marjuski. Carolyn Marjuski. If I called your name, type I'm here in the chat. So you just won Thomas, or not Thomas, Daniel Sprick's video. The next video I have to give away is a new one that just released. This is Pastel Landscape Secrets from Karen Margulis. And I just watched her on Pastel Live, and she's a great teacher. So I really recommend this video. And the winner of this video is going to be, let's see, Susan Webb of Kansas. Susan Webb, you are the winner of Karen's video. I have so many to give away. Sorry. I just enjoy giving stuff away. The next one is How to Paint Crashing Waves with Alex Dzersky. And this video is going to go to, see, Christy Bunn. Christy Bunn, you are the winner of Alex's Crashing Waves video. Next, we have Xiaoming Wu, Enchanting Portraits. I just had him on Art School Live a few weeks ago, and it was so amazing watching him paint just this one little section of his painting. It was so cool. So this is Xiaoming Wu for Enchanting Portraits, and the winner is Diane Grant. Diane Grant, you have won Xiaoming's portrait video. And my last video is our newest video that just released. This is Rich Gallego for Autumn Gold. I haven't watched it yet, but I've heard it's great. And I have heard that Rich is a really phenomenal teacher. So I encourage you to get this video, especially because we have so many beautiful golden trees coming out now with the fall. So this video is going to go to, you guys are typing so fast, I can't even read these names as they go by. Taylor Turner. Taylor Turner, this is for you. Taylor Turner, you get Rich Gallego. Okay, so the last two things that I want to give away are upgrades. So some of you guys just signed up for Realism Live, and I'm super excited for you. And so we pulled a couple of names, and we are going to upgrade your tickets. So this person purchased a general ticket, and you are now going to get a premier ticket upgrade for 60 days of replays, and that is Susan Scott of San Jose, California. So congratulations, Susan. send me an email at winner@streamline, and we are going to get you upgraded to Premier Replay Access. And our final giveaway of today is a VIP upgrade for Realism Live, and that is going to go to Barbara Reed of Wilmington, North Carolina. Congratulations, Barbara. You get 365 days of replays. You're going to get 365 chances to watch Carol and Cammie's demos over and over again so that you can, I don't know, just learn how to paint everything. I don't know. I just am so excited there's so many options. There's so many portraits and figures and landscapes and drawing and so many different things that you can learn. Even when you watch the same thing over and over and over again, you learn something new every time, I feel like. So it's just a wonderful experience. I want to thank you all so much for joining us today. And I'm going to bring Carol and, Cammie walked away. That's fine. Cammie, I love you. Bye. I wanted to just thank these ladies one more time for joining us today. This was such a great experience, and I'm so glad I got to host this with you. And I'm so thankful that all of you watched with us today, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.